What if the biggest changes in your life, or even in the world, didn't start with some huge, dramatic event, but with something much smaller, like a whisper, a tiny, seemingly random moment? Well, today, that's exactly what we're diving into, the powerful and, honestly, often misunderstood butterfly effect.
I mean, that's a huge question, right? The idea that one single, tiny, almost invisible action could kick off a chain reaction that completely changes the future. It sounds like it's straight out of science fiction.
But here's the thing. This incredible power isn't fantasy. Nope, it is a real scientific principle, and its story starts not with some grand design, but with a simple accident.
So our story begins with a kind of unintentional hero, a meteorologist and mathematician named Edward Lorenz. We're talking way back in 1961, and Lorenz was doing something pretty revolutionary. He was using an early computer model to try and predict the weather. So he had this whole set of equations that were simulating the Earth's atmosphere. And one day, he wanted to get a closer look at a particular sequence, so he decided to rerun part of a simulation. And to save just a little bit of time, he took a small shortcut. So, to restart his simulation, Lorenz didn't type in the full original value of 0.506127. Nah, he just rounded it off to 3 decimal places, 0.506. On the surface, it seems like a completely trivial, insignificant change. I mean, who wouldn't do that?
The difference was minuscule, a tiny fraction, less than 1,000th of a point. It was like taking a single speck of dust out of the entire universe. What difference could that possibly make? Well, when the program ran again, the result was absolutely stunning. The new forecast didn't just drift off course a little bit, it went wildly off the rails, creating a weather pattern that had absolutely nothing to do with the original simulation. Lorenz figured out pretty quickly this wasn't an error. He had stumbled onto something profound. This extreme sensitivity, it wasn't a flaw in his model. It was a basic truth about how complex systems actually work.
Lorenz's accidental discovery was so huge it needed a name. In fact, it became the cornerstone of a whole new field of study we now call chaos theory.
He called his discovery sensitivity to initial conditions, and really, it's the core idea that in any complex system, like the weather or the stock market, tiny, almost imperceptible changes at the very beginning can lead to enormous and totally unpredictable differences later on. Now, while sensitivity to initial conditions is the technical term, the idea got a much more poetic name later on. It all came from a question. Could the flap of a butterfly's wings in Brazil set off a chain of events that eventually causes a tornado in Texas? And with that really powerful image, the butterfly effect was born.
This idea is part of what's known as deterministic chaos. Now, that sounds super complex, but it just means that while the future does follow from the past, the connections are so incredibly sensitive that even the tiniest, unmeasurable variable can change the outcome completely. It makes perfect, long-term prediction pretty much impossible.
Okay, but this isn't just about weather patterns or some abstract science. The most fascinating part of the butterfly effect is that it's at play all around us, in our own lives, every single day. Think about it. A text message you send just 1 minute late could mean you miss a bus, which leads to you being late for a meeting, which could prevent you from meeting someone who might have changed your entire life. A single word of encouragement you give a friend, that might be the tiny push they needed to finally go after their passion. Seriously, even choosing a different coffee shop in the morning could put you in the right place at the right time to see something extraordinary.
So what this means is that every choice we make, no matter how small or insignificant it might seem at the time, is a new starting point. It's the beginning of a whole new chain of events.
Each of these small decisions, these little flutters, sends waves out into the world. And they affect not just our own path, but the paths of everyone around us in ways we can't even begin to anticipate.
So the next time you feel like your actions don't really matter, just remember Lorenz and his accidental discovery. It's not about trying to control the chaos, but about understanding that you are an absolutely crucial part of it.
Your seemingly small actions have the potential to create massive change. So the only real question left is, what are you going to do with that power?